Okay, hello. Here's an overview on the arc lantern. I looked it over. Um, the font is in very good condition. There's no dents or substantial scratches around here, so it will buff and plate very nicely. The filler cap is in excellent condition. The valve turns freely, which is good. The burner assembly, let me get this on. The burner assembly is in exceptionally good condition. Um, it even looks like somebody tried to clean this up a little bit. This is brass is brightened. We can polish that all up nice. Um, the manifold bar has no rust. The riser has no rust. Well, a little bit of rust, but it looks like they wire brushed that. So the burner assembly is in good condition. I'm assuming that the generator is going to work fine. The globe rest, now on 316s they are loose like this. The globe rest shows no significant dents that can't be worked out. The only thing is the lighting door is supposed to lay flat. I don't want to try to move it now because the rivet is rusted solid. So I have to de-rust that so I can move the trap door and close it up. Now, let's get into the issues. This lantern has a significant amount of rust. The vent or the collar is pitted pretty deeply. I can rub that all out, buff it out to get a pretty good surface, but the issue is I think the pits are deeper than the engraved font. So I'll try to save it. It's supposed to say Coleman Arc and all that. I don't know where we're going to be on that. I think maybe this lantern either spent time submerged underwater or an extremely humid environment because there's some significant rust issues. The vent cone, on some of them they were made out of brass. This one appears to be out of steel and it's pitted, but it looks like somebody took a wire brush and tried to get most of the rust off to hide the pitting. That's no big deal. I can buff this down and nickel plate it. Where we're going to run into some issues is the vent, the shade. There is this diagonal, you see a dent in it. I'm pretty sure I can massage most of that off so we get a nice smooth surface. The good news is there's no stress cracks in the font. There's no stress cracks in the vent, the shade. But the problem with the shade is this outside edge is pretty well shot. And the reason was when they made this, they rolled the copper over a thin metal hoop. And as that metal rusted out, it busted off the copper. So the entire rolled edge on this lantern is shot. But that's not as serious as it sounds. I can fabricate a new rolled edge using a very thin copper tube in something like this. This one is too thick to use on. This is for a different lantern, but using a thinner copper tube I can make this edge and solder it in using pewter solder so that it can be nickel plated and it won't show. Now the continuing rust issue is up here. The dome is supposed to be secured by two cross pieces of steel which are supposed to have a leg going down on each side that fits behind these metal clips. The problem is that is completely rusted out, which is not impossible. I can make clips to replace that. Where it gets tricky is the fact that, if you're familiar with rust, when something rusts, it actually expands. And those metal clips were behind these screws, and as they expanded, they pushed the ring out against the securing screws, and in two places it's just dimpled, and in two places it actually ripped through the copper. Now, conceivably, I can make a new ring, but to keep it original, I can restore that. And what I would do is disassemble this, unscrew these screws very gently on I have a little tiny anvil, punch that out flat so that they're no longer dimpled, and then on the inside, since the brass is torn, I would have to solder in a little bit of a washer behind it to reestablish the integrity of the brass. This is a metal part, and these four clips are also metal parts, but I think if I carefully disassemble it, I can de-rust those and they'll be good to go. The last thing we have to look at are the shade clips. 3 of them are there, but 1 is missing. But once again, that's no big deal. I've made up a bunch of replacement clips for that. The vent dome, the same issue. As it rusted, it pushed the brass up and dimpled it. That's supposed to be smooth. So once again, what I would do is carefully with a soft hammer tap that back out so it's flat. This screw is bound in by a rusted thing, so I have to de-rust that to take it out. So anyway, those are all the things we're really looking at as far as restoring this guy. The good deal is the burner is fine, it's excellent. The font is really nice, physical shape, just cosmetically goofy. Your filler cap appears to be extremely nice. The edges of this aren't rounded off. Usually people are using pliers and it rounds the edge off. Again, the valve turns freely. And I'm assuming that the generator, if it's not clear now, would be easy to clear. So that's the amount of work that has to be done. Oh, one more thing. The bail. The wood on the bail is in excellent condition. But once again, due to the extreme rustiness on this, there's a lot of pitting along the bail wire. Once again, I think I can buff most of that out. But because the pitting is so deep, I don't want to make the bail too thin. So what I would do is try to get most of it out, and what I can't get out, once again, I'll try to fill with that pewter solder so it can be plated. So that's where we're at on this. The other lamp you sent me, it's just basically a quick dent pull and stripping and replating the font. Everything else on that looks really good, just needs to be buffed up and cleaned. I can put a coat of shellac on the wooden handle and we'll be good to go. So this is actually what has to be done. Now I got to sit down and try to give you a coherent estimate on time and cost on this. But in general, it's really good raw material, and everything can pretty much be saved. All right, so thanks for sending this out, and then I'll get the estimate together and send that to you tomorrow. All right, thanks for trusting me with your project. Have a good night. Bye-bye.